When it comes to health and wellness advice, it's easy to get overwhelmed by too much information, especially if the topic is kind of embarrassing. But your body is your body and your life is your life. No need to be embarrassed. I'm Torri, Parade's resident health question guru, and the Cleveland Clinic has given me everything I need to help you answer the sometimes complicated, sometimes confusing medical questions life throws our way. This is the TMI Show. So if you have a question you want us to answer, drop it in the comments. If it's really TMI, dear Torri, my butt really itches. You know, I got nothing. You can send us a message. Click the bell. It'll keep you notified about every new episode of the TMI Show. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for Americans. Sorry, too dark, too soon? For something so important, there's a surprising amount of misinformation about heart disease. Here's something you might not have heard. 90% of coronary heart disease is caused by risk factors you can modify or control.
I wanna be the one in control.
And according to a new survey from the Cleveland Clinic, only 8% of Americans know that. Ladies, pay extra attention here, because despite all the talk about breast cancer, not that it doesn't deserve to be talked about, heart disease is the #1 killer of women.
What?
Not just men. Heart disease is a catch-all term, and coronary artery disease is the most common type of heart disease. CAD happens when plaque, a combination of fat, cholesterol, calcium, and other substances found in the blood, builds up in your arteries. In layman's terms, your blood tubes are all gunked up. Real talk, there are some risk factors you may not be able to do anything about, like family history of heart disease. If every relative on your mom's side, Uncle Bobby and Aunt Betty and Papa Joe, had a bad heart, you're more likely to have one too. Race is another factor. For instance, African Americans are at a higher risk for heart disease for a variety of different reasons. 44% of black men and nearly 48% of black women have some kind of heart disease. And then there's gender. Men in general are at a higher risk than women, but once we hit menopause, dun dun dun, our risk is about the same. So, equality at last. Yes, some things are out of your control. You can change your genes, but you can't change your genes, am I right? But you're in the driver's seat when it comes to the rest of the list. And the fact is, even if you have some or all of the uncontrollable risk factors, making smart choices about the risk factors you can control will go a long way to protecting your heart. Like smoking. If you haven't heard, it's 2020, and the results are in. Cigarettes are bad for you. Really bad. Wake up, people! In fact, cigarette smoking accounts for about 1/5 of all heart disease deaths in the US.
Hey, don't do that.
And I don't mean to burst your bubble, but vaping isn't shaping up to be any better for you either. You hear that, you 26% of millennials who think e-cigs have no effect on your heart? But the good news is, you can quit.
Yay.
And if you can just go one day, 24 hours, your risk of heart attack already starts to decrease. And if you can quit for one day, you can quit for 2. And if you can do 2 days, why not 200? You can click here to find information from the Cleveland Clinic on the best ways to quit. A full year of not smoking will reduce your risk of heart disease to half that of a current smoker. And if you quit cigarettes for 15 years, it's kind of like you never lit up at all. That's almost as good as a real-life do-over, which I could use. The amount of cholesterol in your blood is also something you can control. There are 2 main types of cholesterol. HDL is the good stuff. You want your levels of HDL to be high because it actually helps clear your body of the bad cholesterol, aka LDL. QRS, TUV, WX, YNZ. That's an alphabet joke. High levels of LDL are a major cause of heart disease. LDL builds up in your arteries and causes those fatty deposits called plaques, which can reduce or block the flow of blood and oxygen to the heart. Blood and oxygen are kind of the heart's main job. Also love. Your total cholesterol, a number that combines HDL and LDL, should be less than 200. Here's a fun cholesterol fact you can casually drop at your next get-together. For every 1% decrease in total cholesterol, your risk of developing heart disease decreases by 2%. I know what you're probably thinking, why should I care about this? Only old people have high cholesterol. In fact, according to that Cleveland Clinic survey, 3/4 of Americans believe that they don't need to start getting their cholesterol tested until their 30s or later. And they would be wrong. The standard now is that cholesterol monitoring should begin in your 20s, even if you don't have symptoms of heart disease. That's because high cholesterol is showing up in more and more younger people. 1 in 5 kids and teens in the US between ages 6 and 19 already have it. Hi, I'd like to set up a cholesterol screening. To set a great example for the youths of America. High blood pressure is another one of those controllable risk factors. Blood pressure is the force of your blood pushing against the artery walls as it travels through the body with each heartbeat. When the pressure is consistently too high, it damages the tissues in the arterial wall and allows plaque to build up. That narrows the arteries and makes your heart work overtime. Ideal blood pressure is less than 120/80. The top number, your systolic blood pressure, measures the pressure in the arteries when the heart is beating and the arteries are filled with blood. The bottom number, your diastolic blood pressure, shows the pressure in your arteries when your heart rests between beats. Obesity and lack of exercise also put you at risk for heart disease. Even stress is on the list. And I don't know about you, but when I'm stressed, the last thing I want to do is run around the block or improve my push-up stance. And the first thing I want to do is stick my face in a pile of nachos a la Torri. Talk about your vicious cycle. Now that you're thoroughly depressed, some good news. Remember, 90% of those heart disease risk factors are controllable. And just eating well, exercising, and not smoking will take care of most of them, including high cholesterol and high blood pressure. I know, figuring out what eating well means is confusing in itself, but we have lots of resources on healthy diets you can check out in the About section. But it's pretty simple. Lots of fruits and vegetables, fish and lean proteins, all simply prepared with limited sugars and healthy fats like olive oil. Fried foods, I'm sorry. Exercise can be similarly complicated. You can get all into the CrossFit versus SoulCycle versus marathon running argument.
Scissors cuts paper, paper covers rock, rock crushes lizard, lizard poisons Spock.
But again, let's simplify. Choose whatever exercise gets your heart pumping and that you can tolerate enough to do 5 days a week for at least 30 minutes a day. Because this is the TMI Show, you'll be happy to know about 75% of millennials and Gen Xers think sex counts as exercise. And hey, if you can hit the 30 minutes 5 days a week goal with sex alone, well, more power to you. Now you're equipped. Heart disease may be one of America's top dangers, but you know which risk factors to address and how. Talk to your doctor about any specific concerns you have about heart health, and check out Parade.com and Cleveland Clinic's Health Information Library for advice on all of these topics and thousands more. Or you could let us know your heart health questions down in the comments. If you have a TMI question, send us a message. I promise we've seen it all. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, brush the plaque off your teeth too. Plaque is everywhere, people. Be vigilant.